Assalamu alaikum again. Nice to have you here, despite the rain and the thunderstorm outside. We'll continue our journey into Shakespeare and Shakespeare's world. Last time we had a discussion about some Shakespearean ideas. We mentioned how Shakespeare, for example, wants to be careful when he depicts the English kings. He doesn't want to offend them. He doesn't want to be punished in a way or another like many people were punished at that time. However, that's not the whole story, because sometimes Shakespeare implicitly, indirectly, he criticizes kings. He presents them as weak, sometimes as strong, sometimes as weak, sometimes as clever, sometimes as not so clever, sometimes as villains, sometimes as evil. In a way, he presents the king to us as human beings with flaws, with weaknesses, and also with strengths. The king is no longer the figure, the godlike figure to be feared. Shakespeare changed this image and introduced us to someone who, a king who is a person like us, who has, again, flaws, hopes, wishes, and fears. Let's see, before we begin today, talking about Shakespeare tragedies and some of his comedies, let's see two students here performing something from Shakespeare.
Next time.
Yeah, here, please.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his town plays many parts, his acts being set in ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, with his satchels and shiny morning face, creeping like a snail, unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sounding like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. And then the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the bard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick and curled, seeking the bubble, reputation, even in the colonel's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round billy with good cable line, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise souls and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippery pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and botch on side. His youthful holes will save the world too wild for his sham. And his big manly voice, turning again towards childish children, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, the end that ends this strange, eventful history, in sound of childishness and mere oblivion. Saints' teeth, saints' eyes, saints' taste, saints' everything.
Oh, very good. I love this recitation of all the world's a stage. We mentioned this probably briefly before, but Shakespeare was one of the most important poets and playwrights to present life as a stage.
Yeah.
So this is all the world's a stage. The whole world is a stage. And in Macbeth, we'll see how he talks about life being a tale told by an idiot. So very good. Probably you can do something like this, the rest of you. We have one more reading of For God's Sake. Go on. Do you want to stand on the chair? Okay.
For God's sake.
Can you speak up?
For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. How some have been deposed, some slain in war, some hunted by the ghosts they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murdered. That's for within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king keeps death his corpse, and their antic set, scuffing his estate and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a brief, a little scene, to monarchize, to be free, and kill with looks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which rolls about our life, with face impregnable and humoured thus, comes at the last, and with a little pain, bursts through his castle wall, and for will kings, and very will king, cover your heads, and mock not flesh and blood with solemn reverence. Throw away respect, tradition, from and ceremonies, duty. For you have but mistook me all this while. I live with bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need friends, subjected thus. How can you say to me I am a king?
Very good. Very beautiful. Thank you. No, I keep it. Thank you. So again, we have this king portrayed by Shakespeare as weak. Someone begging people to sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the death of kings. We said that this is one of the kings that Shakespeare presents as, but maybe humble, maybe honest, maybe modest in a way. But remember when we discussed the text, the poetry itself, we said there could be something hiding behind, where the king is not genuine, is not truthful in his begging, because the language reveals someone who is still arrogant, someone who is still a king, someone who's distancing himself from the people, someone pointing the finger of accusation at the people themselves rather than at his own shortcomings. We have one more recitation. Come here, please. For God's sakes. Go on. On your mobile. Okay. Can you speak up?
Yeah.
Okay.
For God's sake, let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of death of kings, how some have been spoiled, some slain in war, some hunted by the gods they have deposed, some poisoned by their wives, some sleeping killed, all murders for within the whole crown that round the mortal temples of a king. Keep death has called, and the antique sights, scoffing his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a breath, a little sense, to martials be afraid and kill with locks, infusing him with self and vain conceit, as if this flesh which walls about our life were breath impregnable and humoured thus, comes at the last with a little pen, poured through his castle wall, and free king, cover your head and mock not flesh and blood with some reverence, throw away respect, tradition from and ceremonies duty. For you have but mistook me all this while. I live with the bread like you, feel want, taste grief, need a friend subjected thus. How can you say to me I am a king?
Thank you. Really, thank you. So we go back to Shakespeare today in class 3. Remember we spoke about Shakespeare and his tragedies and comedies and histories. Generally, again, a tragedy is a play in which the main character or major characters die at the end. The themes are serious themes of death, of destruction, of hope, of ambition. And the comedies, on the other hand, are plays where nobody dies, and at the end they live happily ever after. However, it doesn't mean the comedies are less important than the tragedies, because the themes in comedies too can also be about love, about death, about power, about jealousy, about important themes, about identity, especially mistaken identity. So sometimes Shakespeare would use a comedy because comedy generally makes people laugh at their own shortcomings, with no one bleeding or getting hurt during the like really seriously getting her, because sometimes there could be some chaos in the play, but at the end things go back to normal. Shakespeare's 4 great tragedies are Hamlet. We already mentioned Hamlet, spoke about Hamlet, King Lear, Othello, and Macbeth. They're called the 4 great tragedies because they're the most famous of all tragedies. Now, the themes again are about identity, asking what it means to be a man, what it means to be a king, what it means to be a human being, questions about jealousy, family, ambition, and revenge. I can't, like, basically here say, for example, Hamlet is about revenge, because Hamlet is about many things, but revenge is there. Okay? The same with Othello. There is jealousy, but there's also revenge, and there's also racism, and there's also a family here. King Lear is family and revenge and many things about identity. So these issues that the tragedies discuss in Shakespeare are serious themes, are very important themes, usually including the king and the queen and the royal family. Okay? When we speak about the tragedies, we also speak about how in the play, man, the character, the king or the prince, usually tries to go beyond the limits of what it means to be a human being. Remember when we spoke about Renaissance, we said in the Renaissance, the issue of what it means to be a man, humanism, was something important. And this is what it means to be a man. Nobody can, by the way, answer this, give a satisfactory answer to this question. Shakespeare asks this question so many times. Now, in these plays, man tries to go beyond, not to be a human being, but to be a super man. And because man is not perfect, is anybody perfect here?
No.
Is anybody perfect there? No. For example, Macbeth kills the king so he can be the good king, right? Or Hamlet's uncle. But everybody fails because no one is perfect. Nobody succeeds in going beyond the limits of a human being. So mankind itself is not perfect. So what happens? Failure. Failure. In Macbeth, for example, in brief, I don't want to go in much detail here. Shakespeare's Macbeth is a play in which some like 3 witches, 3 witches like magicians or wizards, come face to face with Macbeth and tell him 3 prophecies. They tell him the future. From these prophecies, Macbeth is told that he is going to be a king. He's not a king now. He's not a king. He will be a king. What does he do? He tells his wife, Lady Macbeth, he goes back and then, maybe I should kill the king. His wife was like, yeah, kill the king. And he kills the king. Now, does it end there? Again, remember how serious it is to hurt the king, to question the king, to kill the king at that time. He kills the king and everything goes upside down. And the king, he kills more people, even his friends, even his kids and women are slaughtered because of Macbeth. Now, Macbeth, at some time, is told that his wife, Lady Macbeth, who supported him, dies. But he is at a moment when he has given up on life. He is just hopeless. Yes, he wants power. He's ambitious. But when his wife dies, he doesn't care that much. Maybe because, again, he has given up on hope. Or maybe because she pushed him to do this murder. And we come to this amazing part from Macbeth, when he again realizes that all his murders, all his crimes were useless. They're not going to make him a superman. And that's tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Very famous quote from Macbeth. Creeps in this petty pace from day to the last syllable of recorded time. Out, brief candle. Even light, even a candle, even the light of a candle is now something negative for him because he wants to live in darkness. Because he brought darkness upon himself. Because he killed the king and he destroyed the harmony in the world. Out, brief candle. life's but a walking shadow. Remember just now we said Shakespeare uses the metaphor of life as a stage. All the world's a stage. And here, life is a shadow. What's life? What's man? What do we want? It's a shadow. You kill and kill and kill and you lose people. But what do you achieve? Nothing. Except the cold grave. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player. We go back to the metaphor of the stage. Poor player means, what does player mean here in this context? Exactly, an actor. Not a football player. Means an actor here. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, going back to the stage. So how long do we live? It's only 1 hour. No matter what you do, how powerful, how strong, no matter how many crimes you commit, it's all 1 hour. That's life. That's life upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It's a tale. It's a story. Tale. Again, a tale. Who's the narrator of the tale? An idiot. Imagine a story told to you by a crazy person, an insane person. Is it going to be, probably you wouldn't believe it. Probably you're going to just be shocked, confused, because things are not connected, are not related, because the storyteller is incoherent, doesn't understand. Told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. What does it mean? Nothing. You kill and you kill and kill, and at the end of the day, you don't achieve anything. And this is again a concern by Shakespeare at that time. People were asking these questions. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to go beyond the limit of man? It means nothing. Because it's a tale told by an idiot. Because we have a poor player that spends 1 hour and then is heard no more. You're gone forever. Okay, beautiful story, beautiful play, Macbeth, one of the most beautifully written plays by Shakespeare. Probably you can go to YouTube and watch some productions of this. I'll leave the story here. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Now, generally, what happens in tragedies at the end is, again, death and destruction and chaos. So what does it mean here? It means that there is darkness. There's pessimism. There's hopelessness and helplessness. There's despair. There's sadness. Now, generally, even in tragedy, Shakespeare gives us some hope for the future. Remember Hamlet? How many people died in Hamlet?
Everyone.
Almost everyone. Except his friend Horatio. To tell the story, remember?
Yeah.
Shakespeare loves stories and storytelling. Horatio wanted to drink the poison. He said, no, don't. Tell my story. And then there is a new king. So, even in tragedies where almost everybody dies, there is hope for the future. Someone to tell the story, or there is usually a young person, a young king in particular, or young people. We have this in Macbeth, New King. We have this in Hamlet. We have this like in many other plays. However, there's one very dark, very bleak, very gloomy play by Shakespeare. One described by some critics as the most pessimistic and the darkest. And this play is King Lear. Many things to say here, but let's just focus on what we have to say in the book. King Lear, at the beginning of the play, he decides to give up his kingdom and his power to his daughters. But he says, okay, if you love me, tell me how much you love me, and I'll give you like that much, you share. And to the daughters, Gunnar and Regan, they say, we love you the most, more than the waves and the stars, and bigger than the sea and the oceans, and we love you because you are the best in the world. But Cordelia, the honest,
say the truth.
She says the truth. She says, I love you as much as any ordinary daughter loves her father. You're good to me, and I love you. And he was like, go. He disowns her. He kicks her out. Long story short, At the end of the play, fast forward, we have King Lear in one of the last scenes with his misunderstood daughter, Cordelia, dead, lifeless in his arms. And that's how it ends.
In the prison.
When he realizes he has been a fool all along. Remember in the play, there is a fool character.
Yes.
A jester.
Yeah.
He's wiser than the king. And that's again Shakespeare, trying to say that sometimes a fool
Can be better than.
can be better than, wiser, smarter than the king. And this is one of the last scenes. Very heartbreaking. Very sad in so many ways. No, 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 no life. Why should a dog, a horse, a rat have life? And thou, no breath at all, thou will come no more. Never, 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 never.
Tragedy.
Can someone read? No, try to depict the sadness here. Please.
No, no, no life. Why should a dog, a horse, a rat have life? And thou, no breath at all. Let's come no more. Never, 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 never.
You forgot one never, I guess? You shouldn't be laughing. This is sad. I shouldn't be cracking jokes even.
Yeah.
Speak up, please.
No, no, no life.
Okay,
Why?
no, no, no. Can we get the sadness and the frustration and the pessimism and the hopelessness? Like, no, no, no life. Why should a rat, why should a dog, a horse, a rat have life, and thou, no breath at all, thou will come no more. Never, 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 never. You shouldn't be laughing.
I'm not
Go
gonna
on.
act it that good, but okay.
Try.
No, no, no life. Why should a dog, a horse, a rat have a life? And thou, no breath at all. Thou come no more. Never, 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 and never.
Never. Please.
No, no, no life. Why should a dog, a horse, a rat have life? And thou, no breath at all. Thou come no more. Never, never, never.
You forgot one never. She forgot two nevers.
Yeah.
See, listen. Now this is a king who committed a foolish mistake. Why would you give up why wouldn't you understand? If a king doesn't understand his daughters, in a way he deserves this, but we feel sad, we feel sorry for him because, again, of the lifeless body of Cordelia. See the emphasis on no, 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 never, never, never.
He regrets
How
his,
dark
regression.
the ending is.
Yeah.
Very depressing, very sad. The pessimism is overwhelming there. Why should it's unfair? Life is unfair because you, the king, you are unfair. You were unfair. You didn't treat your daughter justly. Again, what does thou mean? Thou.
The.
Thou.
That.
Thou means
Those. Those.
thou. What does it mean? You.
Yeah.
Thou means you. Thou wilt. Here, thou will.
Thou.
You will. So far we had thou in Middle English meaning you.
You.
And thee meaning also you but for object.
Yeah.
So shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee? And the second line says, thou art. You are. You are. You are. Yes, please.
I can't understand. He said He said that I'll give you how much you love me, and I'll give you an equal amount.
Yeah.
She said that I love you like a normal daughter that loves her father. He should have gave her what he sees that is fair, not to get her out.
And now he's being punished.
Yeah. This must.
But the punishment is like when you take candy from somebody, when you just don't give them extra marks.
It's
But
different.
the punishment here is so heartbreaking because it includes death. Now, when we move from King Lear to Othello, again, remember, King Lear is said to be one of the darkest, most pessimistic because there's no hope. Everybody dies. Heartbreaking. Now, Othello, in brief, is one of the major black characters in Shakespeare, in all English literature, by the way.
What do you mean
He
by
isn't
that?
the first black.
Oh, yeah.
He's originally from Africa. And when we say he is a black character here, it brings issues of
Racism.
race. Listen, we believe wholeheartedly that all people are equal regardless of their color, of their origin, of their race, of anything. We treat people as human beings. And the worst thing is for anybody to be racist, to hate somebody, to dislike somebody because of their color, sometimes how they speak, where they are from, or their religion. And this is what literature teaches us. We learn about these experiences from literature. Now, Othello is a Christian. He becomes a Christian, and he's a leader in the army in Venice. And he marries the most beautiful white lady in Venice. He deserves this because he works hard for it. He's a strong fighter. But Iago, the villain, the antagonist, hates him mainly because of his color. And again, this is Shakespeare 400 years ago discussing racism. And because you treat somebody unfairly, unjustly, because of his color, we have one of the, again, really darkest tragedies of all. In Othello, again, harmony is lost. And that's why harmony, because we should be treating each other equally. But because someone is mistreated only because of the color of his skin, and this causes a lot of destruction and death, he kills his wife, Desdemona, Othello.
Why?
Because he was jealous. Because Iago made him think that she was cheating on him. And then Iago kills his wife. And then he is killed himself. And then Othello dies at the end. So he says, chaos is come again. Chaos?
Yeah.
Chaos, destruction. It is said that there's the Big Bang Theory. I'm not sure if you studied this in school. Big Bang Theory. How the world created by a Big Bang.
Yeah.
And before the Big Bang, there was chaos. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And the theory says that the world is going to end in a Big Bang. So chaos is come again. Life has no meaning when someone is mistreated because of his religion or something. So why does Iago hate Othello? Because, yes, he took the position, but he deserves it because he is a black man who married the white, the beautiful lady, Desdemona. And Iago is said to be the scariest character in Shakespeare. Now, we move from Othello to the Merchant of Venice. Now, listen, the Merchant of Venice is not a tragedy. I'll tell you in brief what it is about. But when I speak about Othello and speak about race, because Othello is an outsider, outsider?
Yeah.
We speak about Europe, all white, all Christian, all European, right? Now, Othello is an intruder, is an outsider. Now, in the Merchant of Venice, there is also an outsider, and his name is? Shylock. The Merchant of Venice.
Jewish.
I'll briefly tell you what goes on in the Merchant of Venice and probably read this and stop and comment next class. Now, the Merchant of Venice is a story about Antonio and his friend Bassanio. Bassanio wants to marry Portia. Bassanio doesn't have the money. He goes to the Merchant of Venice, Antonio, to give him money. But he doesn't have much money now because all his money is at sea, doing, abroad business and trade. So where does he go? Where does he go to borrow money?
Europe.
He goes to Shylock. Who's Shylock?
A Jewish guy.
A Jewish money lender, a Jewish guy, again an outsider. So there is also another theme of humanity and race here. And then Shylock says, okay, Antonio, you want me to give you money? Antonio, you always insult me. You always spit on my face. You always tell people not to take money from me. Antonio, now you want the money? I will give you the money, Antonio, because I am good. Now, Shylock is a money lender. He gives you money and you return the money with extra. This is called interest.
Interest.
You know, extra money when you borrow money from like a bank now. And he says, okay, let's sign a contract. In the contract, he says, I want to give you the money. If you don't pay it back in some time, I think 2 months, I will take a pound of flesh. A pound of flesh, a piece of your body, of your flesh. Pound is like half a kilo. That's a lot, right? And then Antonio was like, what? He said, don't worry, this is Mary's fault. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. And then he signs, and then when the time comes, give me my money back. He says, my ships were destroyed. I lost all my money.
No money.
He says, okay, give me my money. Let's go to court. And now everyone was like, oh, Shylock, you shouldn't wait for him. Forgive him, Shylock. He said, why should I forgive him? He has always treated me like crap. He's always mistreated me. He insults me. He spits in me only because I am a Jew. And now that I have the right, the time to take revenge, now he's saying no, and they go to the court. At this time, Bassanio and his wife, Portia, know about the story, and Portia dresses up as a man, as a lawyer. Remember, in Shakespeare, women were not allowed to be on stage. Only men. Because they didn't have a big role at that time. Women didn't have many rights. So who plays women characters? A man, a beardless man with a soft voice.
Yeah.
So imagine this, how Shakespeare is doing this. So who's playing Portia? A man dressed up as Portia for the play. And now Portia dresses up as a man, as a lawyer. Not only a man, but a lawyer. Women were not allowed to be lawyers at that time because many believe that women are less intelligent, less intellectual than men. And Shakespeare is changing this, is making fun of this concept. Because she comes to the court and she says, okay, wait. This contract is valid. It's correct. Is this your signature? Yeah. So yeah, give him the money. I don't have the money. And then she tries to beg Shylock. Shylock, please, forgive him. We'll give you your money. He says, no, we'll give you double the amount, triple the amount. And Shylock says, no, I want the pound of flesh. She says, okay, go on, go on. And he starts sharpening the knife. And in a very ugly scene, he doesn't use probably a brick or the wall. He uses his shoe to sharpen the knife. Disgusting, ugly act of revenge. And when he approaches Antonio just to take probably from near his heart, Portia says, wait. Take the pound of flesh, not less, not more. And when you do, don't drop any blood. Not even one tiny drop of blood. Is it possible?
No.
So he feels that, oh, I can't. And then he says, okay, give me the triple amount. So you just said no. Give me the double amount of the money. He says no. Okay, give me my money. And you just said no. He says, okay. Allah يسامحك يا Antonio, السلام عليكم. They say, wait a minute. Come back. In Venice, if an outsider tries to kill a Venetian, his money has to be taken away and he has to convert to Christianity. So at the end, Shylock loses his, like earlier, he lost his daughter. She became a Christian. Now he lost all his money. And of course, the good white Christian Antonio says, okay, I don't want my half. Take it back. And he loses most of his money. He loses his right to take revenge. And he becomes a Christian. He is forced to become a Christian. But for Portia, Bassanio, and Antonio, they live happily ever after.
That's a comedy.
Now, in the past, this was considered a comedy because the European white people are victorious. But is it a comedy for Shylock?
No.
Is it a comedy for Shylock? It's not. He lost his daughter. He lost his religion. He lost most of his money. That's why now people consider this a dark comedy, tragic comedy, serious comedy, trouble comedy, whatever, because there are issues of race and anti-Semitism here. Now, in the middle of the play, when they were begging Shylock not to take the pound of flesh, he says this, one of the most beautiful things in Shakespeare. Maybe some of you can read it next time. They tell him, what do you want to do with the pound of flesh, for God's sakes? What do you want to do with the flesh? You can't eat it. And he says, I don't care. I want to feed it to the fish. I don't care. When he insulted me, when he spat on my face, when he told people not to take money from me, nobody interfered. Nobody told him, no, don't do that, Antonio. Now that I have the chance to take revenge, you're telling me don't? So to bait fish with it. If it will feed nothing, it will feed my revenge. He hath disgraced me and hindered me 500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains, scorned my nation because he's a Jew, thwarted my bargains, cooled my friends, heated my enemies. And what's his reason? I am a Jew. There's no reason. It's not because I'm bad. It's because of my religion. Like Othello, it's because of his, I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes. What's hath? Has. Hath not a Jew, see how beautiful this is. Hath not a Jew eyes. Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fit with the same food, hurt with the same weapons, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? The answer is yes. The second part, if you prick us, if you injure us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? You tell jokes, crack jokes, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? We're humans. Again, shared humanity as a theme, Shakespeare. And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that if a Jew wrong a Christian, what is the humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by a Christian example? Why? Revenge. The villainy, you teach me, I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. I learned this bad deed, I learned this villainy from you, from Antonio.
You made me a man.
I will treat you the same. You made me the man I am, but I will better the instruction. I will better the instruction. Wonderful, yes. In a way, many people accuse Shakespeare of being anti-Semitic. Yeah. You know? Did I write anti-Semitism here? Can you see the term? This term. Anti-Semitism. You know Semitic from Sam? The Jews and many Muslims are originally, the son of Sam, son of Noah. So we are Semitic, Samiyin. Semitic Sami. Anti-Semitic, mu'adi al-Sami. Generally a term used to describe people who hate Jews only because they are Jews, which is wrong, which is racist. Even for us as Palestinians, we suffer because of Israel. We suffer because, I would say, many Jews support Israeli occupation and the disposition of Palestinians. But not all Jews are supportive of Israel. That's why we speak about the Zionist regime, the Zionist project, the Zionists, the Israelis. As Palestinians, we don't hate Jews because they are Jews. We hate those people because they occupy us, kill us, humiliate us, deprive us of our rights. Even if the occupiers of Palestine are Muslims, we will fight them and resist them the same. So it's not a matter of Jews and Muslims. This is not a war between Jews and Muslims. It's again, a legitimate fight. Palestinians occupied, oppressed, colonized against the colonizers who happen to be Jews. Okay? So in this play, is Shakespeare depicting Shylock as evil?
No.
As ugly? Probably yes. Some people say yes. Some people hate Shakespeare because he is anti-Semitic. Or he is anti-feminist. Remember feminism?
Yeah.
Feminism, anti-feminist. Or because he's a racist. But some critics say, no. Shakespeare wasn't being racist or anti-Semitic or anti-feminist. He was reflecting a society that was racist, anti-feminist, and probably anti-Semitic. So we can find solutions, we can find answers for this. We can look for answers. The Merchant of Venice is a play about shared humanity, about what it means to be a human being, about racism, about anti-Semitism. And Shakespeare, now these are important questions now here in the 20th, 21st centuries. But Shakespeare discussed this over 40, 100 years ago. And this is how beautiful, how amazing Shakespeare is. If you have any question, please ask, and we can continue the discussion next class. Do you want to say something? Do you want to add something? Do you want to read some of this? Or for next time? Can you prepare, 2 or 3 of you, can you prepare doing this? Reading this here? Okay. So we'll start next class from, again, Shylock and his speech. But before we do this, do you notice anything about the text? Okay, look at this. This is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay? And then there is
No.
no life.
Never.
And then there is this. Do you notice something difference between the anything?
It's like a paragraph.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's
This
like
is
a story.
poetry. In poetry, we capitalize every line, the beginning of every line, the first letter from every line. Capital, capital, capital. This is a rule in poetry. But here,
It's like a storytelling.
this is what?
Story.
It's a paragraph. It's prose, thank you. Remember, Shakespeare's plays were mostly written in verse. But sometimes there are prose characters who only speak prose. Shylock is one of them. Unimportant characters, messengers, bad people usually speak prose, not verse. We can talk probably more about this. Thank you very much. If you have a question, please do ask.